What's new, crew? Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new. My name is Cassandra, and here on this channel we talk about all things budget, grocery hauls, grocery shopping, how to run a household on a super small budget. We are a family of 5, soon to be a family of 6, and I just felt compelled to film this video. I was watching some grocery hauls this morning, as I do, and I was listening to person after person after person talk about how they are struggling to find budget groceries for their families, all of these things that they're still spending like $200 or $250, sometimes $300 a week for their family, and they don't understand how people are affording groceries for their family at all in this time. My grocery budget for a family of 5 is $500 and up to $550 a month. That does include all of our shampoos, conditioners, household cleaning products, toilet paper, paper towels, all of that stuff. The only thing that doesn't include anymore are my diapers and wipes, just because we all know that if I needed 1 box of diapers and 1 box of wipes, that's easily $50 out of that budget. So I've just moved it over to a completely separate budget. But how do you feed a family on $100 per person per month? And today I wanted to talk about some things that I know make a huge difference when I'm grocery shopping, and a huge difference I see in how I shop versus how I'm seeing other people grocery shop. I need to start with just very simple basics. I'm going to talk about it really quick, and we're going to move on because I know that I repeat it a lot, or it's just not for everybody. We buy our meat in bulk. We buy lots of ground beef at a time. This year we ended up purchasing 350 pounds of ground beef. I cannot remember off the top of my head how much we paid for it. I'll put it up on the screen here. We only buy ground beef. We do not buy half of a cow or a whole cow, where you get different cuts like roasts and steaks and different things like that. Only ground beef. We do that for a couple reasons. One, it's way cheaper to only buy ground beef because we can buy the ground beef by the pound. When you're buying it, the bigger quantity you're buying, the better the deal that the farmer is going to give you. We also buy half of a pig every single year. I say half of a pig, we buy a whole pig, but we split the cost and we split the pig down the middle with my in-laws. They take half the pig, we take half the pig. It's actually cheaper for both of us to go in on a pig and take half of it versus us to split the same pig but pay separately for it. So we always do it that way. It works great. So we buy our bulk pork, our bulk ground beef. We get lots of different cuts off of our pig, that being bacon, breakfast sausage, ham hocks, ribs, pork ribs, like all that stuff. We hunt and we fish. That's how we get a lot of our own meat. That's all my husband and my kids. I would like to take part in that more, but a lot of our kids are little, so right now it's really just dad and whatever kids he brings out with him that time. But our kids do hunt during youth hunt. We do venison for that. My husband hunts and we'll get venison, and that's where we get all of our roasts, all of our tenderloins, all of like our more fancy cuts. We do venison because we can source it ourselves. And then just this year my husband started salmon fishing and trout fishing, so we have lots of trout and some salmon that he was able to catch this year in our freezers, and that's how we get fish. So right off of the top, we're buying in bulk, we're sourcing some of our own foods, and that is how we get all of our meat for the year. The only thing left that we have to talk about is chicken. We raise chickens. We have laying hens, which are different than meat birds. However, we typically will hatch our own chicks, or we have some chickens. If they start brooding, they start making a nest, we let them hatch their own eggs, and then whatever they hatch at the end of the year, we will butcher before the fall. We had one of our chickens hatch a bunch of chicks. We had some roosters in that we're getting rid of. So then that's how we get whole chickens. We'll get our whole chickens in the freezer. That's how we source some of our chickens. No, it's not for everybody. I totally understand that, but that is a way we save really, really big, is either buying in bulk or sourcing, growing, processing our own meat. The next one is making a meal plan. I still see people out grocery shopping without a meal plan, which I wouldn't even know how to grocery shop without a meal plan, but I understand if you've never done it before how overwhelming it can be. I'll link down below a couple videos on how I meal plan and things like that, but you've got to have a meal plan. The next big one that I started paying a lot more attention to this year specifically was price matching, or just checking my prices. Before I even go into Aldi nowadays, I will go into my Walmart app and I put all of my groceries in my cart, even things that I typically would get from Aldi, I want to look at the prices. I want to see what is the price sitting at right now. Oranges are something I get every single month, but it depends on where I get them between Aldi and Walmart, depending on who has the better price. So if I looked at my Walmart app and I already know that cuties at Walmart are sitting at $3.33 because I just checked it, and then the next day I go into Aldi and I see them sitting at $2.50, I'm buying them at Aldi this month. But if I go into Aldi and I see they're sitting at $4 or $5 a bag, then guess what? I'm not gonna buy them at Aldi. I'm gonna wait and put them on my grocery order and order them from Walmart. And the next big one is finding some things that you can make from scratch, things that you can make in-house, whether this be meals, full-on dinners, or some of your snacks, some of your kids' lunches, some things that you put in your kids' lunches. This is something that we started doing at the beginning of 2020. I got a ton of these little glass jars. I just got a comment recently asking where these are from. They are from Walmart. They have different sizes. I have a couple different sizes. I'm pretty sure even like the largest one that I have, they were all under $15. They're great. I've had them forever. Everything that's in here stores really well. There is no special seal or anything, but I've never had an issue with the food not holding the way that I want it to. But this is where we hold all of our baked goods. The kids can grab snacks out of here. They know they don't have to ask. They can just grab them out of here. They can grab these things and throw them in their lunch boxes. You're not going to be buying as many Cheez-Its or as many of those pre-packaged snacks. I've learned to make so many different things from scratch over the last 3 years, whether that be bread. I have some bread right here. I just had this out from lunch, but making loaves of bread, making pizza doughs from scratch. I completely stopped buying pizzas other than those like take and bake style pizzas that you guys see me get from Aldi, but I can't even remember the last time I bought a frozen pizza. We make all of our pizzas, we make all of our pizza doughs. I make most, I'm gonna say most of my own pie crust. That's something I'm still working on. Trying new things. You have to learn to adapt and pick and choose, like what do you want to make in-house versus what's worth buying. And let me tell you, once you start, it's a slippery slope, and you will start making more and more and more in-house and buying less and less and less from the grocery store, and that's a great feeling. I think the biggest culprit of where everybody's money is going is in packaging. Let me talk about this. This is 2 pounds of vanilla Greek yogurt. I'm gonna look up how much this costs right now. This big tub of yogurt currently sits at $2.36. But if I even go down to those little 6 cups of yogurt, I'll insert a picture of what I'm looking at, you're only getting 4 6-ounce cups. So not even, you're getting like a fourth of what's in this jar, and you're gonna be paying half of what I pay here for $1.96 for individually cupped yogurts. I can totally understand the convenience of why you would want individually packaged yogurts, but when you're talking about saving money and you're wondering why you can't stick in a budget, it's because of all the little convenience things that you're buying. Unfortunately, if you want to save money, you have to get rid of some of those convenience things. That's the first thing I did back in 2020 when food prices started getting really, really high. I had to cut out some of those convenience things. I used to buy those applesauce squeeze pouches for my kids every single month. I would buy like 2 huge boxes of them. That was one of the first things I cut because they were like $6 or $7 a box. And instead, I just started buying the big thing of applesauce. And it meant I had to wash more dishes because I was pouring applesauce in bowls and spoons and stuff. But if you want to save money, you have to figure out where you're willing to cut out convenience and where you're not. And a lot of it is in those convenience packaging, whether it be instead of buying a big box of goldfish, you're buying individually wrapped goldfish. If you're buying, like, instead of buying a big box of Cheez-Its, you're buying individually wrapped Cheez-Its. I find it to be a lot of those convenience packaging things that everybody loves. Even when you're talking about things like string cheese. String cheese is so expensive, but if you were to buy just 2 or 3 blocks of cheese, which ultimately will be cheaper, you'll get more cheese, you're paying less money. So I just bought a box of these K-Cups for a convenience item for myself after I had this baby, just for a little treat to myself, right? I was shocked about how expensive these silly little K-cup things are. Not to mention that you use them once and then you're tossing the packaging in the garbage. That blows my mind. So when I got my Keurig as a Christmas gift, the very next day I hopped online and ordered reusable K-cups. They look just like this. I ordered these online on Amazon. I ordered a 4-pack. I'm pretty sure you could get them in a 4-pack or a 6-pack, and I'm pretty sure I paid like $4 for them, $5 for them. And they're crazy easy. All I have to do is take my bulk coffee grounds that I buy, scoop them in here, and it's way cheaper. And I will get, these K-cups come with 48 in here. And I think for most people, assuming you're drinking 1 coffee a day, this is gonna last you a month, maybe a little over a month, depending on maybe those some days you need a second afternoon cup of coffee. Versus how long do you think this huge thing is gonna last me, especially if I'm putting it in a little K-cup at a time. This is gonna last me forever. But it's one of those convenience packaging things where right now I'm at a season of life where, yeah, it was worth it to buy these for a convenience item for myself. But once baby's sleeping a little bit better, these things are going out the window. I'm not buying these things again, and I'm gonna go back to my tried and true big coffee bulk purchasing way of life. When we're talking about school lunches, I ordered off of Amazon. I'll try to link it down below. I ordered the like Amazon version of a bento box. It was way cheaper than a bento box, like half of the price, but it works amazing. And I just fill it with our big thing of yogurt I put in there. If I buy a big box of Cheez-Its or something, I'll just throw in a handful of Cheez-Its or a handful of veggie straws, and it works amazing. They come home, they'll empty out whatever's left in their lunchbox into our chicken scraps bucket. They put their bento boxes in the sink, run them through the dishwasher at night, and then the very next morning when I'm packing lunches, I just pull the bento boxes out of the dishwasher and I repack. And it saves us a lot of money that way, not having to buy those like little individual pre-packaged convenience things to throw in lunch boxes. And it also saves us from having to buy a ton of reusable plastic baggies to throw Cheez-Its in or things like that. I can just throw them right in the bento box, throw the lid on it. The next one I see people spending a lot of extra money on their groceries are those delivery drop-off services, or those delivery walk through the store, buy your groceries for you thing. I'm not really sure how it works because I've never used it. And in my area, it's not something that's even offered. I live way too far out from the city to have that be a thing where you can have your groceries delivered, but it's crazy. I was talking to some of my siblings who live in like a bigger town where that's offered, and they're talking about how they like Grubhub themselves lunch into work, and they're like, oh yeah, I spent X amount of dollars this month on Grubhub or whatever that is, DoorDash, whatever those delivery services are. And I'm just like, how? Like, how do you justify that? I don't think I could ever do it. Or paying the extra service to have your groceries delivered to your front door. Like, yeah, it's convenient, but you are paying so much extra money to have them just delivered to your front door. I try to understand, because maybe if I lived in an area where it was offered, I would have a season where I was like, you know what, today is the day. I'm just paying a little bit extra and having them delivered. I can get my head around that, but having it be like every time you order groceries, they're being delivered to your front door. Maybe that's not something you do every single time. If you're struggling to stretch your grocery budget and you need things to go further, I would definitely suggest maybe not doing that, or not paying for, or maybe only shopping at stores where you can do the pickup service for free, where they shop for your groceries and you go and pick them up. I do that from Walmart. I do it every single month because it's free. The second they make me start paying for it, guess what? I'm just gonna go back to walking through stores and doing my groceries that way. I do not do online pickup orders from Aldi because you have to pay separately to do so, and that's not something I'm willing to pay extra for at this point in my life. I also recommend trying to find some budget meals, or meals that you can make really from scratch. Things like spaghetti. Maybe you're learning how to make your own noodles. Maybe you're learning how to make your own pizza doughs and you can make pizzas from scratch. We all have to start somewhere, so I would say just research some things, maybe find something that doesn't seem as intimidating to you or as scary to you, maybe something that you're a little bit more familiar with, and kind of hit the ground running and go for it. But finding budget meals, finding some budget snacks, like we do yogurt, and then I started making my own granola with just oatmeal and some seasonings and some spices and some honey, and it's really, really great, and my kids love it. So we do yogurt and granola all of the time. It's a really cheap snack. My kids love homemade bread with some homemade jam on top. We do that very often. These are so cheap to make in-house, especially if you're just making really classic type cookies like chocolate chip, or maybe even some sugar cookies, which is really just like butter and flour and sugar. It's not a lot of ingredients, which is also great. Finding some low ingredient meals, things like maybe just beans and rice. That would never fly in my house. I'm gonna be honest, we don't have a lot of bean eaters here, so that's not something that I would make. But maybe even things like spaghetti or a meatless Alfredo. I make my Alfredo just from some chicken stock and heavy cream, a little bit of Parmesan, and then I started making my noodles from scratch. So a couple of ingredients and you've got a really great meal. My biggest ways that I saved money on groceries this year was buying my meat in bulk, processing and harvesting our own meat, whether that be venison or fish or even chicken from our yard. I didn't mention this, but the garden saved us a lot of money this year. I plan on making a video running down that whole thing, so it's kind of why I didn't talk about it here. But we did garden this summer. Lots of our own vegetables came out of the garden, even some fruits and stuff that we put in this year. Learning how to make some things from scratch, whether that be a bread recipe, pizza doughs, like I said, cookies, cakes, candies, anything that you really think that you can start somewhere where it's not super intimidating. Maybe it doesn't overwhelm you as much, because I remember when I first was trying to learn how to make bread, I can remember it vividly. I had my KitchenAid out on my counter. It was in the height of 2020. I had a very small baby, like 6 weeks, 9 weeks old. I was struggling to try to make bread. The baby was crying. My toddlers were weaving in between my feet. I remember there being flour everywhere, and I'm trying to read these instructions and like coddle a baby, and like I remember being so overwhelmed. I just wanted to pull my hair out, and I'm like, I'm never ever gonna be able to make bread. This is so intimidating. I remember I baked the bread and I pulled it out, and it was like wonky and it looked weird. It was just like not what you anticipated. I wanted like this Instagram worthy bread, and it was nowhere near that bread. It was just not, okay? It was dense and it was hard because I didn't let it rise long enough. Like, it was not good, okay? But yesterday I was thinking to myself, I made 2 loaves of bread yesterday. I have that one here that I keep showing you. I have another whole loaf up on my counter. While I was making that bread, I was also making a batch of cookies. Plus I was getting dinner in the crock pot. I was teaching one of my daughters how to sew. She was sitting up on the counter with me. And I remember thinking, yeah, 3 years ago when I started making bread, I never would have been able to do this. But now I've made bread so much and so consistently over the last 3 years, I can just dump it all in. I know what I'm doing. I'm confident in myself. So I think just knowing that you'll get there, you just have to start and you just have to try. And it's not gonna be great at first. Maybe it will, I don't know, but it's probably not gonna be great at first. You're probably gonna have some recipes that didn't work out, some cookies that get burned, and it's okay. It is just part of the process, but you have to start, and you have to start somewhere. If you're really looking to save money for your family and cut back on the grocery store, of course the best way to do that is to buy less from the grocery store and produce more in-house. Cut down on your convenience packaging. Figure out where it's worth it and when it's worth it, and where it's not and when it's not. Like I said, we all need convenience items in our life. They're a reason that they became so popular, and now we're kind of like overrun with convenience foods, right? Thank you guys so much for taking a little time out of your day to hang out with me. I hope this video helped you. I hope that you can implement some of these in your life, especially heading into the new year, hoping that you can save some money for your family, living a little bit more comfortably, because food insecurities is never something that people should have to struggle with. And I will see you guys in another video. Bye.
day, late at night, not okay. All I want, and I pray, all I need are some better days. Yeah, all I need are some better days.